Chosen one, something just shifted, and this time, it's divine justice moving in your favor. You were greatly violated, but your public vindication will be even greater. The season just changed, right now, in this very moment. Chosen one, the air feels different, doesn't it? You can't see it with your eyes, but your spirit knows it. Something has moved. Something ancient, divine, and unstoppable has begun to rearrange itself in your favor. The wind that once blew against you is now at your back. The very current that dragged you down is now lifting you higher. The unseen realm has tilted, and what was once buried beneath the weight of injustice is rising, steadily, purposefully, undeniably. You can feel it in the quiet moments, in the stillness between thoughts. The uneasiness you carried is transforming into anticipation. The exhaustion that once made you doubt your own strength is turning into energy you can't quite explain. You thought you were just tired, but what you feel is not fatigue. It's the tremor of transition. It's the sound of chains snapping, contracts breaking, atmospheres rearranging. The spiritual realm has declared a verdict: justice must manifest. For a long time, it looked like violation had the final word. You were left holding broken pieces, trying to make sense of betrayals that seemed senseless. People walked away without apology, doors closed without warning, and you stood in silence, wondering if the scales would ever balance. You asked, "Will the truth ever come out? Will what was taken ever be restored?" And heaven answered you in whispers you couldn't yet interpret, whispers that said, "Wait, the time is not yet full." But now it is. This is that moment when divine timing catches up to divine promise. The shift you feel is not random, it's recalibration. The universe has issued a correction in your name. The very energy that was used to suppress you is being repurposed to elevate you. Every act of violation became evidence in the courts of heaven, and the verdict has been delivered: repayment, exposure, restoration, and honor. You've entered a season where what was done against you can no longer remain hidden. Every whisper that once spread lies is now trembling under the weight of its own echo. Every hand that sowed sabotage is now reaping accountability. The same mouths that distorted your truth are about to speak your name with reverence. The same environments that once felt suffocating will now serve as the stage for your rise. Chosen one, you need to understand, this shift is not a soft one. It's not a gentle correction. It's a divine upheaval. Systems that protected the violators are being dismantled. Networks built on falsehood are collapsing under their own deceit. Alliances formed against you are fracturing because truth has entered the atmosphere, and truth does not negotiate. When divine justice moves, it doesn't tiptoe. It thunders. You have endured so much in silence. There were nights when you prayed for closure, but heaven was silent because vindication wasn't meant to be quiet. If God had given you private resolution, the public lie would have lived on. So you were kept waiting, not because you were forgotten, but because your vindication required a stage. And that stage is now being prepared. You've been marked for public redemption, not hidden recovery. Your breakthrough will not sneak in through the back door. It will arrive in daylight, undeniable, witnessed by the same eyes that watched you suffer. That's why the atmosphere feels tense around you. People can sense what you haven't yet seen. Spirits are unsettled because your elevation is near. The same people who once dismissed you can feel a pressure they can't name, because grace has begun to spotlight what was once ignored. You were greatly violated, Emotionally, spiritually, relationally, even financially. You were taken advantage of because you loved purely, trusted deeply, and saw potential where others saw opportunity. They thought your gentleness meant weakness, your silence meant defeat. But your silence was sacred, it was strategy. While they spoke, heaven documented. While they plotted, you healed. And now, what they meant for your ending has become your evidence. Chosen one, this shift isn't about revenge, it's about revelation. It's not about proving them wrong, it's about proving divine order right. Justice is not punishment, it's restoration of balance. What you lost in tears, you are about to recover in abundance. Every violation created a vacuum, and the universe abhors emptiness. Every empty space left by betrayal will be filled with something better. Every absence will become an arrival. Every rejection will become redirection that leads to recognition. You thought you were being buried, but you were being planted. The soil of obscurity was your womb of preparation. Every season of invisibility was necessary for roots to grow deep enough to sustain the weight of your calling. The reason you felt pressure is because something magnificent was forming under the surface. Now that time has come to fruition. Right now, as you breathe, heaven is orchestrating alignments. Conversations are happening about you in rooms you've never entered. Your name is being mentioned by people who once ignored you. Opportunities are circling your orbit. Divine justice is not abstract, it's motion, and it's moving in your direction. This shift is not only spiritual, it's visible. The energy around you is clearing. People who once drained you are being quietly removed. Their absence is not loss, it's liberation. The heaviness you carried for years is lifting because the season that sustained it has expired. You no longer need to fight to be understood or beg to be seen. The ones meant to see you are already looking, and the ones who refuse to see will be forced to witness. When divine justice moves, it exposes everything that once hid in plain sight. You will begin to notice patterns unraveling, false alliances dissolving, narratives reversing. People who were celebrated will face questioning, those who were mocked will find favor. You will watch truth rearrange reputations, and yours will rise from the ashes untouched. The same energy that was once used to oppress you will now be used to promote you. Chosen one, this shift is sacred because it's personal. The universe is not just rewarding good deeds, it's honoring endurance. The strength it took to hold your peace while being misunderstood did not go unseen. Every time you chose grace over vengeance, you deposited spiritual equity. Every moment you resisted retaliation, you wrote a new line in your destiny. And now, the return on that investment is being released. The wind has changed direction. The people who once seemed to hold all the power are suddenly losing their grip. Their confidence is turning into confusion because favor cannot be fabricated. Influence built on deceit crumbles when truth enters the room. And truth is walking towards you like a loyal friend long delayed. This is why you've been feeling this strange calm in your soul lately. It's not that everything around you is fixed, it's that your spirit knows something is coming. Your anxiety is fading because your intuition recognizes justice before your eyes do. The chaos that once defined your days is losing its authority. Peace is reclaiming your atmosphere because the war is ending, not because you surrendered, but because heaven intervened. You are stepping into a season where evidence will speak louder than accusation. You won't have to explain yourself. The shift itself will testify for you. Divine justice is about exposure and elevation, both will happen simultaneously. The lies will surface not to shame others but to clear your name. The truth will not need your defense. It will reveal itself like dawn breaking through the night. There's a law in the spirit: what's done in darkness must eventually face the light. For years, shadows loomed over you, but the sunrise has begun. You are walking out of the long night of misunderstanding into a morning of clarity. The very people who counted you out will be forced to count again, and this time, your name will be on the list. This is your turnaround moment. Not a flicker, not a tease, a full-scale reversal. The doors that slammed shut are reopening, but this time, you walk through with authority. The positions that were denied to you are reappearing, but this time, you decide whether they align with your purpose. The same energy that once oppressed you now bows before you. Chosen one, divine justice doesn't just restore what was taken, it multiplies it. When God repays, He doesn't give you back what you lost. He gives you back what you lost, plus interest. The years of silence will be repaid with amplified voice. The seasons of rejection will be repaid with magnetic favor. The moments of isolation will be repaid with divine connection. That's why you can't stay small anymore. The version of you that tolerated violation has expired. The person who questioned their worth, their power, their purpose, they no longer exist. This shift demands your participation. You can't step into vindication while clinging to the identity that pain created. You must rise. Stand tall. Remember who you are. You are not the wound, you are the wisdom that came from surviving it. You are not the violation, you are the vindication in motion. You are not what they said you were, you are what divine timing now reveals you to be. Every scar you carry is now a seal, proof of survival, proof of favor, proof of divine backing. Chosen one, you've been through fire, but look at you, not burned, only refined. The flames that tried to consume you purified you instead. You lost people, but you found peace. You lost positions, but you gained purpose. You lost illusions, but you discovered identity. That's the beauty of divine justice. It doesn't just balance the scales, it rebuilds them stronger. So when you wake tomorrow, hold your head differently. Walk as if the verdict has already been rendered in your favor, because it has. Speak as if the outcome is secured, because it is. Carry yourself like someone who has already won the invisible war. Because in truth you have. The energy around you is adjusting to match your new frequency. That's why old patterns feel uncomfortable now. You've outgrown survival mode. You've graduated from hoping to knowing. This is the consciousness of the vindicated, calm, grounded, radiant. Nothing external can shake it because it's rooted in divine truth. As you move forward, you'll notice divine coincidences multiplying. People reaching out unexpectedly. Opportunities aligning effortlessly. Places you once felt unseen will suddenly recognize your presence. You'll realize that every delay, every detour, every violation was necessary navigation. Without it, you wouldn't be where you are, positioned for elevation that no one can block. And when the public vindication unfolds, and it will, remember to stay centered. Justice is not for gloating, it's for glowing. The light that once exposed you to attack will now expose you to opportunity. Carry it humbly, but confidently. Let your rise be a sermon, proof that integrity outlasts deceit, that purity of heart is not weakness but strength refined. The ones who violated you will watch in silence, not because they were silenced by you, but because conviction has replaced arrogance. Their disappearance is confirmation. Their quiet is your closure. You don't need apologies when vindication speaks louder. You don't need validation when visibility is your evidence. Chosen one, this is your era of recompense. Every tear you cried has been counted, and none of them were wasted. The divine ledger is being cleared, and your name is written on the line of restoration. The energy that once oppressed you is now obligated to uplift you. Every force that fought you is now forced to serve your purpose. So breathe. Stand tall. Smile even before the manifestation appears, because you already feel it. That subtle hum in your soul, that deep knowing that justice has awakened. You are no longer waiting for favor. Favor is waiting for you to move. The season just changed. Right now, in this very moment, the scales have shifted, the balance restored. Divine justice is not coming, it has arrived. And you, chosen one, are its living proof. Your vindication will not be quiet. It will be undeniable. And every eye that once overlooked you will see, not just your rise, but the divine hand that lifted you. Because what was done to you is no longer the story. What is being done for you is. And it's greater. So much greater. You've been violated, in ways you know, and in ways you're still discovering. Some violations were bold, right in your face. Others were covert, smiling while stabbing. Your trust was violated. Your reputation was violated. Words were spoken in rooms where you had no voice. Chosen one, you carry invisible wounds that still ache in the quiet hours. Some of them you can name, others live beneath language. You've been violated in ways the human mind struggles to process, not just by actions, but by energies, intentions, and betrayals wrapped in disguise. What was done to you wasn't always loud or obvious. Some violations came disguised as friendship. Others came masked as mentorship, guidance, or love. You thought you were safe, but safety was used as the stage for deception. You opened your hands, and in return you were cut. You gave trust, and it was weaponized. You offered light, and darkness pretended to reflect it. Some of these violations came boldly. They didn't even bother to hide their intent. You saw the smirk, the dismissal, the manipulation. You heard the mocking tone, the condescending laughter, the denial of your truth. You stood in rooms where your dignity was stripped through words and tone, where respect was rationed like it was something you had to earn from those who hadn't earned their own. They broke promises to you like it meant nothing. They slandered you with such confidence that even you began to question your memory. Their boldness was astonishing, and yet, in their arrogance, they revealed their own weakness. Your reputation was violated, not because of who you were, but because of how threatening your authenticity was. When truth lives inside someone, it irritates those who live behind facades. Your light forced them to confront their shadows, and instead of growing, they chose to project. They whispered lies to others, shaping narratives that suited their insecurity. They painted your compassion as manipulation, your boundaries as cruelty, your confidence as arrogance. You watched your name get reshaped in mouths that didn't even know your soul. People believed the fiction because falsehood is often easier to digest than truth. And yet, beneath every rumor was one common thread: fear. They feared the mirror you held up to them simply by existing. And then came the violation of your silence. Words were spoken in rooms you couldn't enter. Decisions were made about you without your consent. Conversations were poisoned before you even arrived. Your name was mentioned with a sneer, your intentions misrepresented, your essence misread. They reduced you to a story, stripped of context and compassion. They labeled you, judged you, used your name to elevate their own image. And what hurt most was not their lies, but their access. The fact that you had once welcomed them close enough to know you well enough to twist you. You didn't just lose people. You lost illusions of safety. These violations didn't just bruise your spirit, they rewired your sense of self. For a while, you wondered if you were the problem. You asked yourself, did I misread everything? Did I deserve this? You replayed events, searching for where you went wrong. You began to shrink your light to avoid being misunderstood. You silenced yourself to avoid being misquoted. You tiptoed around people's fragility to protect your own peace. But the truth is, you were never the problem. You were simply surrounded by those who mistook your grace for weakness, your compassion for compliance. They mistook your loyalty for naivety, not realizing that silence can be power and patience can be prophecy. Chosen one, these violations were not random, they were targeted. The energy of jealousy recognized you before some people even knew your name. Your presence disturbed their comfort because it carried divine alignment. Your path was never meant to blend in, it was meant to disrupt dysfunction. And when light enters a room full of unhealed shadows, discomfort happens. You didn't provoke it, your authenticity did. You didn't deserve their betrayal, your destiny did. What was happening was a spiritual reaction to your calling. You were marked, and the enemy recognized that mark before you did. Every bold violation was designed to break your confidence. Every covert one was designed to make you doubt your discernment. Together, they tried to rewrite your reality, to convince you that what you felt wasn't real, that what you saw wasn't true. Gaslighting became their weapon of choice, because once they could distort your perception, they could control your power. And for a while, it worked. You questioned your intuition. You second-guessed your boundaries. You apologized for things you didn't do. You confused your sensitivity for weakness, when it was actually divine awareness trying to warn you. But the thing about divine souls is, they always return to their truth. No amount of manipulation can erase the memory of light. Eventually, your spirit began to whisper louder than their lies. You started noticing the patterns, feeling the energy shifts, recognizing the manipulation. The same smiles that once comforted you began to look hollow. The same hands that once offered help began to tremble with guilt. You began to see beyond the surface, and with that sight came strength. Chosen one, this is the part they didn't anticipate, that you would survive. That their violation wouldn't end you, but evolve you. They underestimated your connection to divine justice. They thought they were wounding you, but they were awakening you. Every betrayal turned into a lesson. Every lie became clarity. Every wound became a doorway to deeper wisdom. What was meant to silence you actually purified your voice. What was meant to diminish your worth revealed your true value. The energy around you is changing because your awareness has changed. You no longer give access the same way. You no longer explain your boundaries to those who benefited from crossing them. You stopped trying to convince violators to see your heart. They were never blind. They were unwilling. And now, as you reclaim your voice, your trust, your peace, you are becoming untouchable in ways they can't comprehend. The same sensitivity they mocked is now your radar for truth. The same empathy they exploited is now your protection, because you can sense energy before words are spoken. Every violation they committed was a prophecy in disguise, proof of the power they perceived in you. You don't attack what isn't threatening. You don't sabotage what isn't significant. They saw something in you that reminded them of everything they weren't willing to face within themselves. So they tried to wound it, hide it, distort it, but they couldn't destroy it. You are too anointed to be erased. So now, as divine justice unfolds, you'll begin to understand that the pain wasn't punishment, it was positioning. You were never being broken, you were being built. The betrayal wasn't proof of your weakness, it was the catalyst of your awakening. What they violated, heaven is restoring. What they twisted, truth is straightening. What they tried to bury, the universe is resurrecting. Every word spoken in rooms where you had no voice will be reversed in rooms where your name is now honored. Every secret plot will be brought into light. Every lie will become the evidence of their own downfall. Chosen one, you are walking proof that divine protection does not always prevent violation. Sometimes it allows it to expose what needed to be revealed. You were not forsaken, you were fortified. You were not forgotten, you were being refined. You were not silenced forever, you were being prepared for the day when your voice would carry not just emotion, but authority. And that day is now approaching. Because the same mouths that once cursed you will one day have to confess that you were the truth all along. You're sitting down, and the shadows look massive. They seem powerful, dominant, in control. But the truth? You were never small, you were just sitting down. Chosen one, this is what the enemy never wanted you to realize, that perception is everything. You've been staring at shadows that grew large only because you were positioned low. You've been looking up at things that were never above you. You've been measuring your strength from the posture of exhaustion, not from the truth of who you are. And in that lowered place, the shadows danced like giants. They looked unstoppable, intimidating, overwhelming. But the moment you shift, the moment you rise, everything changes. You've been sitting in seasons where your power felt distant. Maybe you've been in waiting rooms that never called your name. Maybe you've been staring at closed doors, wondering if you missed your opportunity. You looked at the challenges ahead of you and they looked like mountains, immovable, eternal. You looked at the people who wronged you and they seemed untouchable. You looked at your pain and it seemed permanent. You looked at your future and it looked fogged. But chosen one, understand this, your vision has been filtered through fatigue. You've been seeing through the eyes of survival, not through the lens of sovereignty. When you sit too long in a place of defeat, even dust starts to look like walls. When you're kneeling under pressure, every shadow stretches taller than it should. That's what fear does, it distorts. It turns minor obstacles into mythical threats. It magnifies illusion and minimizes identity. You've been staring at distorted reflections, forgetting that the angle you view from changes the scale of everything. You were never small. You were never powerless. You were simply looking from the wrong height. The figure, once still, once bowed, begins to move. The ground trembles not because of the enemy, but because of awakening. Every breath carries remembrance. Every inhale gathers forgotten power. The figure rises, slowly, deliberately, with purpose. And the moment they do, the shadows begin to twist. The same figures that once loomed with dominance start to shiver. They crumble. They shrink. They break into dust, because their existence depended on the posture of your submission. When you stand up, the giants become insects. The illusions collapse. The only reason they looked big was your position, not their power. Chosen one, this is your revelation. Your posture determines your perception. The enemy's entire strategy has been to keep you sitting, not physically, but spiritually. To keep you seated in shame, in doubt, in regret. To make you feel like the throne you were born for was reserved for someone else. Because as long as you stay seated, you can't see clearly. As long as you stay bent under the weight of fear, the shadows stay tall. As long as you stay in apology mode, your spirit stays muted. But the moment you stand, when your spirit remembers its height, perspective returns. You see that what once looked like a mountain was a mirage. What once felt like a threat was a projection. What once seemed unshakable was never solid. It was smoke pretending to be stone. The enemy doesn't fear your fight, it fears your awareness. Because once you see, you can no longer be deceived. You see, shadows only have power when there's light behind you. But chosen one, you were never meant to walk with your light at your back. You were meant to face it, to align with it, to become it. And when you face the light, the shadows fall behind you where they belong. Everything that haunted you becomes a backdrop for your testimony. Every dark thing that tried to follow you becomes a silhouette that can no longer touch you. When you rise, the illusion breaks. The false gods of fear, rejection, scarcity, betrayal, they crumble because they were never divine. They were impostors wearing the mask of truth. Their only fuel was your attention. Their only strength was your surrender. And now, as you stand, you reclaim everything they took from you, not by fighting harder, but by seeing clearer. The moment your consciousness lifts, your enemies lose scale. The same things that once made you tremble now look pitiful. The same conversations that drained you now feel beneath your vibration. The same fears that once made you silent now sound absurd. Because awakening doesn't always roar, sometimes it simply rises. When you stand, the entire atmosphere shifts. The air changes. The frequency recalibrates. You start walking differently, not arrogantly, but with quiet authority. You no longer beg for acceptance because you've remembered that you are the acceptance. You no longer chase validation because you realize validation was always waiting inside you. You no longer tremble before those who once belittled you because you now understand. Their power was borrowed from your attention. You begin to understand how many of your battles were illusions crafted from your own lowered sight. The things you feared were never as large as they appeared. They were only enlarged by proximity. You fed them with your focus, watered them with your worry, and named them giants. But now that you stand, you see them for what they are, projections cast by your past limitations. The light of awareness dissolves them effortlessly. Chosen one, there is a sacred geometry to standing tall. When your spine straightens, energy flows. When your chest lifts, your breath deepens. When your head rises, your spirit aligns. This is not just physical posture, it's metaphysical positioning. It's remembrance. You are standing not only in body, but in destiny. You are no longer sitting in fear, you are standing in prophecy. And in that moment, something ancient awakens within you, the knowing that you were never meant to bow to illusions. You were never meant to cower before shadows. You were always meant to command your atmosphere. You are the storm they tried to silence. You are the equilibrium they feared would return. And now that you're standing, the vibrations of your being send ripples through the timelines. Every lie that was spoken about you starts to disintegrate. Every plot that was set against you begins to unravel. Every limitation they placed on your name turns into the very soil that nourishes your rise. You're not rising as who you were, you're rising as who you've always been. There's a difference. The you that sat in silence was waiting to be remembered. The you that doubted your worth was simply waiting for the moment your awareness caught up with your assignment. You thought the delay was punishment, but it was preparation. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being fortified. And now, the divine says, stand, because everything that once towered over you is about to look small. They said you were too late, stand. They said the damage was too deep, stand. They said the door was closed, stand. They said the season had passed, stand. Because when you stand, divine order reactivates. The universe rearranges itself around your alignment. The angels that once waited for your permission now move with precision. The moment you remember who you are, heaven remembers its promise. Standing isn't just defiance, it's declaration. It tells the unseen, I no longer agree with my oppression. It tells your past, you cannot dictate my posture anymore. It tells your enemies, you only looked powerful because I was kneeling. And as you rise, even the ground beneath you begins to shift in reverence. Chosen one, there will come a moment, soon, when you'll look back at everything that once terrified you and laugh. Not because it wasn't real, but because you now see the illusion for what it was. You'll look at those who underestimated you and realize they were never above you. They were simply standing while you were seated. And when you finally stand, when you finally see, the truth becomes undeniable. The giants were never giants. The shadows were never solid. The power was never theirs. It was always yours. You were never small. You were just sitting down. Not everyone believed the lies. There were eyes that saw, ears that heard. Memory remained. Who you really were became clear to the right observers. Chosen one, you thought no one saw the truth, that your side of the story was buried under the weight of their deceit. You thought the whispers drowned your name, that your reputation was erased by repetition. But heaven was recording. The universe was keeping receipts. Every false word, every twisted narrative, every shadow campaign against you, it all became a stage for divine reversal. Because not everyone believed the lies. Some saw through the smoke. Some recognized your silence as integrity, not guilt. Some remembered your spirit when others misquoted your story. There were eyes that saw. Quietly. Observing. Watching the same people who condemned you begin to reveal themselves through contradiction. They saw how the energy didn't add up, how your actions never matched their accusations. They saw the calmness in your spirit, while others scrambled to prove their lies. They noticed that even when you were silent, grace still followed you. You didn't retaliate. You didn't chase rumors. You didn't beg to be understood. You simply kept walking, and that posture spoke louder than any defense ever could. There were ears that heard. They caught the tone behind the words, the malice behind the mask. They noticed how certain people's stories shifted depending on who was listening. They recognized the envy disguised as concern, the slander disguised as truth-telling. They heard the cracks in the performance. They caught the hesitation in the liars' voices, the guilt in their laughter. They sensed the energy beneath the gossip and said quietly to themselves, "Something about this doesn't feel right." And memory remained. You see, chosen one, people remember how you made them feel long after they forget what was said about you. They remembered your kindness, your sincerity, your authenticity. They remembered the light in your eyes and the steadiness in your heart. They remembered that your energy never matched the darkness being described. They may have stayed silent at the time, not because they agreed, but because they were waiting. Waiting for the noise to fade so truth could speak for itself. And now, that time has come. Transition visual. Screens begin to light up, one after another. Phones glow. News feeds refresh. Whisper networks shift tone. What was once private speculation becomes public revelation. Faces that once smirked in secret now stare in awe. The same energy that once tried to erase you begins to circulate your name again, but this time, not in mockery. In recognition. In reverence. Your image begins to appear, not through your own striving, but through divine orchestration. The very systems that were once used to discredit you are now being repurposed to display you. Your story begins to surface in unexpected places. Your truth echoes in circles that never would have known your name if not for the lies that spread it. The very people who tried to destroy your name accidentally made it known. Obsession with you created curiosity. Gossip built your visibility. What was meant for evil, God flipped for your good. Chosen one, hear this. Their attempts to destroy you became divine advertising. They wanted to bury you, but they ended up broadcasting you. They wanted to silence you, but they ended up amplifying you. Every lie they told became a spotlight they couldn't control. They called your downfall a victory, but heaven was writing a different headline. Obsession became exposure. Their fixation on your every move kept you in the conversation. Even when you were silent, you were present. Even when you disappeared, your absence spoke. The more they discussed you, the more energy they fed into your destiny. Their gossip became your marketing campaign. They couldn't stop mentioning your name, and in their attempt to diminish it, they made it unforgettable. Curiosity grew. People began to wonder, why do they talk about this person so much? Why are they so obsessed? They started looking for themselves, searching your name, revisiting your actions. And when they didn't find the monster described by rumor, they found depth, grace, strength, authenticity. They found truth. And that truth, once seen, cannot be unseen. Gossip built your visibility. You didn't have to fight for attention. It was granted to you by the same forces that tried to erase you. Every word spoken in malice became fuel for your manifestation. Every attempt to defame you became an introduction to a new audience. People who never would have known your name now know it, and they see it glowing in truth. What was meant for evil, what was plotted in darkness, God flipped for your good. That's the divine signature on your story. Every attack was transmuted into a seed of blessing. Every accusation became evidence of your significance. Every rumor became a route to reach those destined to align with you. The divine didn't just defend you, it repurposed your pain. You see, chosen one, when you walk in purpose, even your enemies work for you. Their negativity becomes your publicity. Their lies become your legacy. Their plots become your platforms. They think they're fighting you, but in truth, they're fulfilling prophecy. They are the unknowing messengers of your rise. You don't have to chase vindication, it's already chasing you. The truth always resurfaces, because energy never lies. And now, truth is moving with momentum. The scales are balancing. The frequencies are correcting themselves. The same people who whispered against you will soon whisper about you, with respect, with curiosity, with disbelief at how you rose. Your name is entering spaces where slander cannot reach. It's being carried by divine hands into the ears of those who are meant to honor it. The ones who once dismissed you will now witness your emergence. The ones who mocked your stillness will now have to watch your movement. The ones who laughed at your silence will now hear your name echo in rooms they can't access. Chosen one, understand, vindication doesn't always come as revenge. Sometimes it comes as visibility. Sometimes God doesn't silence your enemies. He simply makes your success louder than their lies. Sometimes He lets the whispers continue just long enough to make the reveal undeniable. You're in that reveal season now. The unveiling. The tables have turned and the light is catching up with your truth. All those false narratives? They're unraveling on their own. The masks of those who lied are cracking under the pressure of exposure. The same people who once swore they knew you are now scrambling to reconcile the version they created with the one the world is now witnessing. And when the truth fully emerges, you won't even need to say, "I told you so." Your peace will say it for you. Your glow will say it. Your elevation will say it. Your alignment will scream it. Because the most powerful response to lies is living well in truth. Remember this: every false story they built about you will one day serve as proof of how unstoppable you were. They tried to bury your reputation under rumor, but they forgot, seeds grow best underground. So let them talk. Let them watch. Let them whisper your name into the atmosphere. Every syllable they speak is a spell they can't control, one that backfires into your favor. The vibration of your name is now protected. Your reputation is now rewritten by divine authorship. Not everyone believed the lies. Some saw. Some remembered. And now, all can see what heaven saw from the beginning, that you were never the villain in their story. You were the truth their lies couldn't destroy. The very storm that was meant to erase you has become your spotlight. The very words meant to curse you have turned into confirmation. The very darkness meant to hide you has become the contrast that makes your light undeniable. And now, chosen one, the world is finally seeing what heaven already knew. Have you noticed? They've gone quiet. Retreat has begun. Isolation has been chosen. Because deep down, they can feel it, the approach of truth. Chosen one, pay attention to the silence. It's not random. It's not peace. It's not reconciliation. It's the calm before the revelation. The sudden quiet isn't because they've matured or moved on, it's because something in their spirit is trembling. They can feel what's coming. They can sense the unraveling. The energy has shifted, and the vibration of truth is getting louder. Those who once shouted the loudest are now whispering. Those who once paraded their lies in public have started retreating into shadows. The noise that once used to dominate the atmosphere has fallen flat. This quiet isn't absence, it's anxiety. It's the silence of someone who knows the story is about to change. You see, chosen one, when truth begins to rise, it moves like dawn, slow, unstoppable, and impossible to fight. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It just shows up, illuminating everything that was hiding in darkness. And those who built their comfort in deceit can feel that light approaching, like a rumble under their feet. It's the unease before exposure, the restlessness before reality. They've gone quiet because their souls can't fake stability anymore. They feel the weight of accountability pressing down, the echo of every word they spoke returning to its sender. They sense that something is shifting in the unseen, that a higher order has decided enough is enough. Silence is not peace. It's panic. Withdrawal is confession without words. Chosen one, that silence you're witnessing is the sound of panic wrapped in pretense. It's the echo of those who once carried confidence but are now being haunted by conscience. They'll call it taking space, moving on, or protecting their energy. But what's really happening is the internal realization that the truth is about to surface, and they can't stop it. The ones who once mocked your discernment are now praying you never use it. The ones who used to broadcast their lies have muted themselves. Not out of guilt they can manage, but out of fear they can't contain. Silence is a language, and right now, it's speaking volumes. It's saying, "We know what we did." It's saying, "We hope they never find out." It's saying, "Please let this fade before the light finds us." But light doesn't negotiate. It exposes. It reveals. It demands balance where there was injustice and clarity where there was confusion. And that's what's happening now. Truth is approaching with divine precision. Withdrawal is confession without words. When people disappear after causing harm, it's not because they've outgrown the situation, it's because the situation has caught up to them. Their retreat is a strategy of survival, not strength. They know that when your name starts rising in purity and power, their lives will begin to crumble under the weight of your elevation. They can't stand next to the truth without shrinking under its glow. So they step back, not in peace but in panic. Notice the patterns. The ones who were loudest in discrediting you suddenly have nothing to say. The ones who led the gossip trains are now ghosting conversations. The ones who used to post subliminals are now deleting their histories. The stage they built to ridicule you has gone dark. Why? Because the story is changing, and deep down they know it. They feel the spiritual tremor of exposure. It's like a hum in their chest that won't go away, an unease that keeps them up at night. They replay the moments, the words, the manipulation, the betrayal, hoping it's still hidden, praying it's still buried. But what they don't realize is that truth has its own pulse, and it's syncing with divine timing. Every hidden deed is surfacing. Every false narrative is unraveling. Every secret motive is being illuminated. You don't need to announce anything. You don't need to chase justice. The universe is already shifting in your favor. The silence you hear is confirmation that divine order is at work. Justice doesn't always start with thunder. Sometimes it starts with a whisper that grows until it becomes a roar. And that roar is coming. Their withdrawal is the early sign of collapse. It's what happens when false power runs out of energy. Lies take constant maintenance. Truth sustains itself. And right now, truth is standing upright while their deception is collapsing under exhaustion. They're tired, not from fighting you, but from fighting reality. Chosen one, this is what vindication sounds like before it's visible. It's the hush before the announcement. It's the pause before revelation. Their retreat is your evidence. Their silence is your validation. The same people who once flooded the air with noise about you now cannot manage a single word, because everything they could say would expose the cracks in their own story. Understand this: guilt has a frequency, and you can feel it. When you enter a room and things go quiet, it's not your imagination. When conversations suddenly change topic, it's not coincidence. Energy reveals truth before words ever do. Those uneasy glances, that nervous laughter, that sudden need to leave, it's all communication. Their spirit knows that your rise equals their revelation. They'll try to justify their silence as peacekeeping, but silence isn't peace when it's built on deception. True peace doesn't hide, it faces truth and is freed by it. Their silence is the opposite, it's bondage. It's the heavy weight of knowing they crossed divine law, and now the balance must be restored. That's why they isolate. They're not protecting themselves from you, they're protecting themselves from consequence. But isolation doesn't erase guilt, it magnifies it. The quieter they become, the louder their conscience speaks. And every day that passes, the truth inside them grows heavier, pressing against their facade until cracks form in their stories, their reputations, their masks. You might not hear their apologies, but heaven does. You might not see their remorse, but it's there, hidden in restless sleep and silent dread. Some are waking up in the night feeling a pressure they can't explain. Some feel sudden waves of regret. Some have tried to rewrite the story, to rationalize their part, to escape judgment. But truth is merciless when it's time for balance. It doesn't let go until confession is complete, whether spoken or seen. So don't misinterpret their quiet as victory. It's not that they've won, it's that the battle has shifted from external to internal. The war they waged against you is now being fought inside them. And that's a war they can't win, because you can't silence conviction. You can't outthink karma. You can't outrun divine order. While they hide, you heal. While they shrink, you expand. While they retreat, you rise. The energy that once tried to oppress you is now feeding your liberation. Their silence is the sound of your vindication preparing to echo. You see, chosen one, every lie carries a timer. And the countdown has ended.